what do you see? A world of mysteries for you and me. Unparalleled dimensions, things of the night, and things that will give you a fright. Unlock the box, what do you see? A universe of mysteries for you and me. Unlock the box, who is there? An old man wrinkly in his chair. Pandora's box is with you again. It's Mystery Mondays, my friend. Creatures of the night, things that'll give you a fright. Beware of the beautiful maiden, 'cause she's surely a demon. Alright! Yeah, she's surely a demon. Find solace in these stories, treat as a lesson for you and me. Don't get sucked in by the things of the night. Remember to fight the good fight. Believe in love and justice and babies. Don't get bit by a dog with rabies. Just be good and put up a fight. Fight for justice and what is right. Alright! What's right? These lessons we give to you. That's right, it's Oxworth, Clifton, Barker, and blah. So you don't always get it right, but that's okay, 'cause we'll put up a fight. %90 completion. Damn it! You know when you're like doing something like that and you think, oh yeah, there's a good rhyme coming. Yeah. But I just got the names wrong.
Yeah, man.
As if I just said Drew at the end, but I didn't say Drew at the end.
Oh, that's cool.
That was amazing,
fun.
guys. That was
anyway,
so
guys,
good.
I'm sorry, that nearly...
That was epic.
That nearly was a hit, but I fucked up, and now
I think it was still a hit.
Yeah?
I think that was one of the best one you guys have done.
Cheers,
That was
man.
amazing.
Yeah, that was freaking epic, man.
I haven't used the pitch bend too much, so I've got to make use of that pitch bend at some point.
Yeah, you got to get on the pitch bend. You got to go on the pitch bend.
It reminded me of some like trance, you know that. Do you know what I mean? It was like the sound of some like,
mate, I was loving it.
90s trance tune.
Yeah, that was well good.
So good.
I hate it when you accidentally break flow state. I was fully in flow state,
yeah,
and then I broke flow state.
Yeah, and then you start thinking about it, and then that's what happened to me a few times. I was like, what's my hand doing? Oh no, and then I go out of time, you know.
Curse our feeble brains!
Curse the feeble brains of our mice-like characters.
Nature gives with one hand and takes with the other.
And eats with the other.
As is the way of things. Yeah, welcome to Mystery Mondays again, everyone. Hope that you're liking our intros. My missus the other day was like laughing because she was like, I swear every single one gets like longer and more elaborate. Like I literally started like Mystery Mondays.
Yeah.
Mystery Mondays. And now it's like a freaking full song, new song every
it's
time.
getting more proggy. I think our prog influences are coming out on the jams, but they're all off the top of the dome as well. So
it'll get to a point where you got a choir in the background.
I can't wait.
More people in.
Full on, like gospel choir.
Yeah.
Oh Lord Jesus, Mr. Monday tonight.
Oh yeah. It's got to happen.
Get frickin' Anna Lapwood in on doing the frickin' organ. Oh, you know that amazing organist I was showing you? Just like, do one in a cathedral. Mystery Mondays live in a cathedral with Anna Lapwood.
That'd be so good.
Oh, that'd be great. I reckon she'd appreciate a Mystery Monday. Who doesn't appreciate a good mystery? You know?
We love the mysteries, man.
100%.
Yeah, so let's just get one mystery out in the air right now. So Bullwinkle has joined the Hitler Youth.
Hello.
As you can probably tell from his new haircut.
I'm not going to salute. I nearly saluted that for a second.
How dare you? Well, that speaks for itself, really, isn't it? The proof's in the pudding, you know? He's naturally saluting to the Hitler Youth, so yeah, weird.
Yeah, it's very Germanic, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Very Germanic in a 1940 sort of way.
I think it makes my head look quite spherical after I've done it. But you know what? You've got to try some new things every now and again.
Yeah,
so
auditioning for Grease Lightning.
Yeah, just needs a leather jacket now and a white t-shirt. Yeah,
exactly.
And a Mustang.
So just wanted to clear up that mystery first off before people start writing any comments, asking questions. So yeah, it is Mystery Mondays. Pretty self-explanatory. Whether you're new or a long-time listener, it was my turn for a mystery last week, which means it's Bullwinkle's turn for a mystery this week. Before we begin, let me get up some dark ambience. Also, yeah, and also let us know what your favourite Mystery Mondays intro is so far. Whether you listen on YouTube or Spotify, actually they're the only options, aren't they? So I think we're on some other
unless you're listening on
Deezer.
Yeah, like Deezer and all that stuff as well.
Which reminds me a bit of Geezer. So I like
Deezer and Google Play.
What the Geezers listen to us
Apple
on.
Podcasts.
Oh yeah,
another one. I think we're on pretty much everything, really.
Everything you can listen to a podcast on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we are there.
Now I've actually finally pressed the distribution button that I didn't realise I had to press.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh,
yeah, Henry Wheeler, shout out Henry Wheeler from Shoot to the Moon, our mates. Sent me a message basically saying that like none of them were on Spotify, the Mystery Mondays. So I looked into it. Anyway, Drew took the amazing initiative of setting us up our own Mystery Mondays page. So there's going to be a separate page on Spotify, and is it going to be elsewhere as well? Is it just Spotify?
Spotify and like Apple Podcasts,
right?
And all Google
So all
Play.
of them, obviously, apart from YouTube. Or is there going to be a YouTube one as well?
It's on YouTube, but it's going to be on the actual Pandora's Box page on YouTube.
Right, but as a separate playlist.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So Drew
its
took
own channel on like Spotify and everything.
Drew took the initiative to set us up our own channel. Thought it'd be like better, and for the people that maybe want to listen to the Mystery Mondays, but not the Pandora's Boxes or whatever, our own channel. So that was cool. But yeah, it turned out that Drew hadn't pressed send essentially.
Distribute.
Yeah. So
I pressed publish, but I hadn't pressed distribute.
Yeah. So cheers for that, Hen, because we got to the bottom of that because of you. So
cheers, Henry, mate.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you for that, dude.
Yeah. So that will be out on Spotify soon.
And you're putting a song in, but I just need to check something as well. When it presses play, that actually records on our recording software. So you'd have to bear with us for like 2 seconds while we check that out.
That's
as
cool.
well.
Let's face it, people are used to us. I mean, as I've said before, we are 100% passion and spontaneity.
Yes, on the fly, off the cuff.
We are not necessarily the most organised show, but we try and make up for it with creativity, spontaneity, and sincerity.
Yeah,
being genuine.
We like those words.
Yeah, we do like those words, don't we?
Oh, it is play. Yeah, that's recording.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah?
That's good. Yeah, look
Look
like
at
it.
that.
You can see him going in. Oh yeah, DJ Cow in the house. DJ Cow. It actually sounds like a drop of like a trance tune or something like. Are you ready, Scooter? Are you ready?
So from that to
A terrifying mystery.
A mystery, you say? Well, I have one prepared. This week, obviously, we are now going into spooky season, into October. So I thought we'd go a little bit more dark than usual.
I'm always up for going balls deep in something dark.
This is almost a bit like
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you know.
This is a bit more of a murder mystery, a bit more of a true crime contemplative show this week. A thing, yes, quite. I'm going to be talking about the unsolved Hinterkaifeck murders. So,
Hinterkaifeck.
I will begin with this. The Hinterkaifeck farmstead was a lonesome place.
Oh, I think I do know the story, actually.
Just from that.
No, that's good, that's good, yeah. Is it Germany?
It's quite good, but yeah. I probably do.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, I've heard it's a good one.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I was like ages ago I heard it on either some program or I read about it, so I can't remember yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it seemed like quite a cool mystery.
Yeah, it is a really good mystery as well from what I remember, like proper unsolved mystery.
So, located near the woods outside the Bavarian town of Grobern, about an hour's drive from Munich and a half-mile behind, or hinter, the town of Kaifeck.
Just so that people that are German can understand you, can you speak in a German accent, please?
Yeah.
I mean, you are the Hitler Youth, so it should be easy.
Right. Yeah.
Near the town of Holborn.
Near the town of Holborn.
Yeah.
It was the home of 35-year-old
That is definitely not German.
Victoria Gabriel and her 2 children.
Sound like a bit Russian.
7-year-old Kazilia and 2-year-old Josef.
You need to sound more kinky.
More kinky.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. A bit like yes. Hello.
As well as
I was driving nice and fast on the autobahn.
I just go a bit scouse when I'm trying to be a bit kinky. As well as her elderly parents, Andreas and Kazilia Gruber. You see the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, yeah.
I thought the UFC fighter Darren Till was here for a minute then.
So, the family was known for keeping to themselves. Still, the neighbours grew concerned on April 1st, 1922, when young Kazilia missed school and the entire family failed to show up to the church where Victoria was a member of the choir. Although smoke had been seen arising from their chimney of the family home, so not too much was initially thought of these missed events. Kazilia missed school again on April the 3rd, and by then, mail for the family had begun to pile up at the local post office. On April 4th, the family's neighbours decided to investigate. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a family who lived nearby, led the search party. What they discovered likely haunted them for the rest of their days. In the barn, the search party found 4 brutally battered bodies covered with hay. Inside the house, they discovered the bodies of 2-year-old Josef and the maid Maria Baumgartner. It had been Baumgartner's first day on the job.
Ooh. Well, that's talking about unlucky. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to get this new job. First day, murked savagely. Oh, should have just stuck to your old job, mate.
Yeah.
The previous maid had abandoned her position due to a fervent belief that the house and the farm were haunted. So she was
laughing now.
Yeah, she was adamant that she could hear voices, that she constantly had this feeling of being watched, which when we get later on into the story is a very, very chilling concept.
Somebody living in the walls.
Yeah.
It's crazy as well, like thinking that she survived it. So I bet, like, you know, that other maid's thinking I knew something was like thing like
Imagine
that.
how relieved you'd be as well yourself. You'd be like, oh my god, man, I just this close to dying.
Yeah.
Brutally.
Another chilling detail as well was the fact that 4 of those bodies, of course, were all found in the barn, covered with hay. So they'd clearly been it was shown that was the murder scene of every single one of those murders. So they had all been dragged out, essentially, baited into
What's even
this
the
barn.
point of covering them with hay? Like, you know what I mean? There's only so long that's gonna put off.
Makeshift grave.
Well, yeah, but it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like
real rubbish makeshift grave.
I think like you either go to the effort to fully hide the bodies, or you don't at all.
Yeah.
It's almost like
taking the mick.
I'll chuck a bit of hay on them.
Yeah.
Sorted. Or maybe they're trying to indicate that it was a farm animal that committed the murders.
Yeah,
and they're just like in the corner. There's
some hay on them.
They didn't feed the cows right.
Yeah, in the corner there's just a really dodgy looking pig just looking at them.
Yeah, blood's from its tusks.
I wonder if that would hide the smell, the hay.
Yeah,
that would almost like
they didn't want people to
inhale the smell of death.
Maybe
to
like a small extent,
bit.
man.
Yeah.
Maybe to like a small extent, you know.
Anyway, nearly 100 years later, dozens of people have been arrested as suspects in the crimes, though no one has ever been found guilty.
Nearly 100 years later, people have been. How does that make sense?
So in that time, it's been 100 years. And dozens of people have been arrested, but no one's.
Not 100
Imagine
years
I've got it
later.
if you were arrested for it now.
Yeah,
you reckon you're something like, mate, I was born in 1990, mate.
Yeah.
No, you come down with us to the station now.
We have evidence you have travelled in time.
Yes. Also, do you like my nipple tassels?
Yeah.
So, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of Germany's eeriest and most famous unsolved crimes. The reports from the family's autopsies, conducted by court physician Dr. Johann Baptist Armula, paint a horrifying picture of their injuries. The elder Casilia showed signs of strangulation and 7 blows to the head, which left her with a cracked skull.
Ooh, savage.
The face of her husband, Andreas, was caked with blood, and his cheekbones protruded from shredded flesh. Victoria's skull was also smashed. Her head showed 9 star-shaped wounds, and the right side of her face had been hit with a blunt object. The younger Casilia's lower jaw had been shattered, and her face and neck covered in gaping circular wounds.
What the hell?
While the elder Casilia, Andreas, and Victoria likely died instantly from an expertly delivered blows from a mattock, which is like a pickaxe-like tool, the autopsy found that the younger Casilia likely remained alive and in shock for several hours after her attack. She had ripped her own hair out in clumps. Thanks for that.
That was perfect timing, man.
Yeah, that was awesome. So she ripped her own hair out in clumps after the attack.
Sorry, why?
She must have been left there. She was like killed, but not instantly, and left there in shock for ages.
So she stayed alive for like 2 hours after the attack, apparently,
and was, like,
or hours
ripping
after.
her hair out.
So but why would she rip her hair out?
Just out of, probably out of just like, I don't know,
yeah,
like what shock, you know, just like kind of like, or just despair, I would say. If you know all your family's dead and you're
actually, I
dying,
can imagine if you had like a mental breakdown.
Yeah, you'd just like be like.
And she'd been hit with like a pickaxe by this point as well in the face.
Savage.
Mental.
Oh man, brutal.
Inside the farmhouse, little Josef and the maid Maria Baumgartner.
Do you know how old these ones are? Like the younger ones. Can you remember how old they were? Like it says little Josef and
2-year-old Josef, 7-year-old Casilia.
Oh, that's savage, man.
So
anybody that can kill kids, man.
Yeah.
That's the one that was like ripping her hair out as well, the 7-year-old.
Anybody that kills kids, you are not a friend of the pod.
Because, like, you know, if you're 7, it's pure horrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're old, like, if you're like middle-aged or something, you kind of understand what's happened, and it's probably just a bit like, oh, I can't, like, whoa. But if you're 7, you think like, what the actual hell has just happened? You know,
helpless, literally helpless. So inside the farmhouse, little Josef and maid Maria Baumgartner had met a similar fate. Maria was killed by crosswise blows to the head in her chambers.
Crosswise?
Yeah, I think that just means like bang, bang. That's how I read it.
Crosswise, okay.
I don't really, I haven't seen that word before, but I assume that's what I meant. Like the bodies in the barn, theirs were also covered. Maria's with her sheets, and Josef's with one of his mother's dresses.
That's weird.
I like that. I like it was adding poignance to everything I'm saying. The farm animals and the Pomeranian watchdog remained unharmed, howeingly, chillingly, they
the dog. It was the Pomeranian.
It was the dog.
The little Pomeranian.
Chillingly, they had been taken care of and fed in the several days that passed between the murders and their terrible discovery. So whoever did this went around and just kept the farm running as normal for days. And that was also why, you remember how earlier on in the show I said that the smoke was coming out? Someone was just living there. Mental.
Just with all that. That's probably, right, that makes more sense of why he covered the bodies now. Then you probably just wouldn't want to see it.
Yeah, just for like a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Police initially suspected vagrants or other travelling men of ill repute, but tossed out this theory after large sums of money were found within the house. Besides the bodies and the hay and the bedsheets used to cover them, nothing had been disturbed, though the killer clearly remained at the farm for several days, feeding the animals, eating meals, and lighting fires in the hearth. When the police questioned in the hearth. When the police questioned the former maid about her belief that the property was haunted, she had said that she came to the conclusion after constantly hearing sounds in the attic and experiencing an unsettled feeling of being watched. It's almost like we've spoken before, haven't we, about like different senses that maybe we don't actually know how to use. And one that people always bring up on that sort of topic is the feeling of being watched, because you can feel when you're being watched.
Well, I think it's almost like instinct. Like you could almost say that instinct is a sense.
Yeah, there's this guy called Rupert Sheldrake as well. Have you heard of him? Like he's like a scientist and really interesting guy. And his son is called Merlin Sheldrake, which I think is pretty crazy.
Named his son after the most powerful wizard of all time.
Yeah, and he does lots of controversial kind of studies in the scientific arena. And one of those studies, what is about being like is when you have eyes on you from behind, and you know, this blind test of asking people when they think they're being watched and stuff, and he's done like loads of work in that area, and he says it's like an instinct. So
it's like people
instinct.
Are super accurate with the results of that.
Yeah, I don't think super accurate, like, but there's definitely
accurate
a trend
enough that it wasn't random.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Rupert Sheldrake.
The thing is, I think once you're put in the position where you're like told like people are going to be looking at you from behind. It's a bit like what we were saying about like, you know, flow state, and sometimes you break in it, and as soon as you think about it, it ruins it. So if you're expecting something, you're more likely to mess up. But if you just walk into a room and you authentically think someone's watching me, then I think that's going to be far more likely that actually somebody is.
Yeah, and that really interesting thing of like, say you're in a cinema or something, and you just go like that, and you look around at someone, and they're looking at you. Oh, and it's like, what the hell? Like, how did I know to like? Or sometimes I've been in a place and I've looked at someone, just randomly been staring at someone, and they'll turn around and look at me. And I'm like,
well, that happens quite often, doesn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a really like normal one.
That's like such a common thing.
Yeah,
it happens all the time. You could just be looking at somebody in the supermarket randomly, like not for any reason. You're just looking their way, and then there's suddenly.
You're like, oh yeah, I was looking at them then.
Yeah, don't want it to be weird, man. Sorry.
Nice eyes though.
It's not your eyes you're looking at, Jake.
So back to the story. Though Andreas, Andreas of course was the man of the house, did not believe her. He had too confided in neighbours about some strange happenings in the days before the murder.
He what? He had to confide?
No, he confided in neighbours. Confided in neighbours about some strange happenings in the days before the murder. A newspaper he did not buy was found in his home, and a set of footsteps was discovered leading from the forest to the farmstead. The footsteps were set in pristine and unmarked snow, leading in only one direction. Nobody at the Hinterkaifeck household knew whom they belonged to.
Was that going to the forest or to the house?
To the house.
To the house from the forest.
Somebody wandered out of the forest into the home.
So this, like, for me, it sounds like someone was living in the house with them and they just didn't realise. Like, someone had, like, snuck in. And if that person felt, that other maid thought that she's been watched and heard things from the attic, maybe he was, like, living in the attic and just hiding out.
Man, I watched a horror movie where that happened.
Yeah.
And also, that's happened in real life as well. I heard the story of a man who was going down in the morning and finding that like all of his food was missing in the fridge, and at first he just thought, like, because it wasn't all of it obviously, like some stuff would be missing,
bits and bobs.
So he thought maybe I just ate it and I just forgot, which like I think we all do sometimes. Every now and again I might think I've got like a yogurt in the fridge and I'm like, I must have eaten it.
Shake your egg, man.
Yeah. But it started like, but if it happened like all the time, you start thinking, wait a minute, nah, this isn't me.
I'm not that forgetful.
So he got to that stage and then thought, right, this is weird. So he just set up a really simple CCTV camera just on his fridge for when he went to sleep at night. And then really horrifyingly, like in the video, at night when he was asleep, a woman got out of the freaking cupboard in his kitchen, and
cupboard.
Yeah, so it was like the cupboard, and she had like somehow like gotten into the. I think she'd like gotten into the walls in his cupboard, and then would obviously get in there and then like pull back the MDF or whatever that was like at the back of the cupboard, and then she was like living in there, and then at night when he was asleep. And then in the daytime when he was at work as well, she'd be like walking around his flat and just like chilling out and stuff like that. And then she'd get in there because she'd know when he was coming home, and then she'd get out again when he went to sleep at night just to get food and stuff. And then she'd get back in there, and he like watched it and apparently was like, oh my god, that's freaky as hell.
That is crazy. And where was she actually living? Like in his walls?
Yeah, and just in his kitchen. Yeah.
That is sketchy, man.
Like behind like a kitchen cabinet. And if you think about it, it's so plausible as well. Like, when would you like check behind your kitchen cupboards? You know what I mean?
Underground tunnel system.
Yeah, yeah.
That's such a horrifying thought. Isn't
But it's mad thing that's actually happened in real life.
Yeah,
yeah,
horrible. So to make matters even stranger, one of the family's 2 keys disappeared shortly before the murder. Combined with the footsteps from the woods, sounds in the attic, and a smoking chimney in the days following the crime, these odd details paint a horrifying picture of a ruthless intruder who may have taken up residence in the house, like we were just saying. Creepy though, man. Creepy. Suspicion eventually settled on several men connected to the family, in part because of some domestic turbulence at the farm. Victoria was a widow whose husband had died in World War I, and the parentage of her son Josef remains a mystery to this day. She had a relationship with Lorenz Schlittenbauer, I think that's actually, I missed the L.
Schlittenbauer.
You're not doing your German heritage any favours.
No, I'm not. I took when I took my ancestry DNA, I thought I might have had a bit of German in me, but I've got 0%.
He was hoping because it was Hitler Youth.
I was hoping I had a bit of German in me, to be fair.
There's nothing wrong with Germany nowadays. Good country. Good country. Anyway. That was, of course, the man who led the search party that discovered the bodies. And both had publicly referred to Josef as their child. They planned to get married until Andreas interfered and their relationship ended. Lorenz eventually married someone else. Though he and his wife welcomed a baby, it tragically died a few weeks later. I'm not sure why that little bit's been added in there. But, police zeroed in on Lorenz as a suspect. They theorised that, traumatised by the death of his baby and unwilling to pay child support for Josef, he had come to the farm, located only a few hundred yards from his own, and murdered Victoria and her family. The theory was bolstered by the fact that those with him in the initial investigation had found his behaviour suspicious. They said that he was acting very nonchalant, viewing and handling the bodies without signs of repulsion. He also knew his way around the farm, of course. The police questioned Lorenz extensively, but were unable to conclusively place him at the crime scene. His behaviour could be explained by shock, they reasoned, and his knowledge of the farm by his relationship with Victoria. So he was then written off the cards. With Lorenz eliminated, police considered Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, a suspect, theorising that he had come back from the war and killed them. That theory didn't last very long, however, because they had soon discovered that Carl had been reported slain in France almost a decade before, with many of his fellow soldiers attesting to seeing his body. Another theory, which floated around at the time, was that Josef was actually the child of Victoria and her own father, Andreas, and that one of them had killed the entire family before turning the mattock on themselves. Andreas's habits for incest and abuse were frequently discussed in the neighbouring town. Supposedly, Andreas had had other children with Casilia besides Victoria, but she was the only one to survive his violent hands into adulthood. But none of his injuries to the bodies could be explained by being self-inflicted, so it wasn't very possible that the crimes were a murder-suicide perpetrated by Victoria or Andreas.
And what about like the days after with the farm and the feeding of the animals?
Exactly,
and all that stuff.
Just didn't add up. So the murderer must have been someone who didn't live at the farm, but who? Only one thing could be stated with any degree of certainty, and that was that the crimes had been committed by someone who knew their way around a farm, as evidenced by the continued upkeep after the murders and by the expert wielding of the mattock. The brutality of the murders suggested that they had been committed by someone with a personal vendetta against one or several of the Grubers. But police at the time failed to come... Yeah, I assume that must be their last name.
Not to speak with the Goobers.
Where was I?
Grubers.
Where is the word Grubers? I found it.
The Grublets.
But police at the time had failed to come up with the answers and eventually closed the case, though it would not remain closed. The Hinterkaifeck case has been reopened several times in the last 95 years. Even clairvoyants have been given a chance at it. In his book, Hinterkaifeck, Spuren ins Mysteriosen Verbrechtens, author Peter Luschner details how the bodies of the Gruber family and the maid were beheaded not long after the original autopsies, and the skulls sent on to Munich, where they were examined for metaphysical clues.
Some metaphysical clues?
Do you think it's a bit brutal to like decapitate the bodies?
Afterwards.
Why not just send the bodies?
Cheaper.
That's such a German thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just send a head, yeah.
We will not send the bodies, we will decapitate the heads, we will keep the bodies for our own pleasure and send off the heads instead.
They actually went and lost the heads after that as well.
Oh, for God's sake, Germany!
Yeah. So,
it's not very organised.
No.
I only jest at the German people out there. I'm only having a laugh, right? Don't get all crazy on me, alright? There's no reason to start the Fourth Reich. I'm joking. I can't help myself.
In 1923, the farm was demolished and the family lays buried without their heads in a plot in Weidhofen. The skulls were lost during World War II and never returned. Initial evidence gathered at the crime scene is either also lost or too ancient to give up any secrets. Though in 2007, the Fürstenfeldbruck Police Academy took the Hinterkaifeck murders on as a cold case, just for training, I suppose. Because of the relatively basic forensic techniques employed during the original investigation, as well as the missing evidence and later deaths of some suspects, they were unable to conclusively identify the murderer, though they did all agree on a theory. So they ruled out every single suspect, but apart from one. However, they are not allowed to release who that one was or who their theory is. Out of respect for surviving family members of the people related to the crime, however, that theory remains a secret, like I just said. At this point, it seems unlikely that the public will ever know who committed the murders or why. Whatever secrets the Gruber family kept in life and in death, they now slumber alongside them in the grave. And that was the Hinterkaifeck murders.
I swear I heard like another theory that like somewhere else in Germany or something like that, like when this happened, there was like some murders that took place, and that they thought that like, and there was like a train line or something that was like near the house or something like that, and they think that because the person disappeared from where those murders took place, that he could have just got on a train and then got off, and then I think maybe, I'm not even 100% sure that was the same case. I heard that about a story, and if it isn't this one, it's like a story which is really similar, like a family, a farm that got killed like this. But yeah, I swear I heard like another theory like that. But
I think it was the guy who lived right next to the farm and was the previous partner of the woman who was there and stuff. Like, they said that the farm kept going for a few days, and he was only 100 or 200 yards from that place. Neighbours. Had the personal connection, and it said they must have like known their way around a farm. He had a farm as well, so like could have like, do you know what I mean? Like knew what he was doing and was an expert on that pickaxe thing. That sounds like a farmer, doesn't it? Or
really
like
strange that he was like just extremely nonchalant.
Yeah,
the
and that as well.
Like,
just like,
that's the thing that I find most bizarre, because I think like even like if you're really not like a squeamish person, like that's gonna make you be like, that's gonna be hard.
And you got to think these were people that you saw every single day. You know,
I know it's gonna be like, oh, is that their mangled head? Oh, let's have a look. picking it up. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, oh my god, like this is like too much for my senses to handle, man. Like sense overload.
Especially considering that he was claiming one of them to be his son.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's all a bit just like, and the fact that he was with someone else, but that their baby died.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like, oh, you know, could be a bit like angry about that.
Yeah,
potentially.
Definitely.
Angry
Weird,
about
man.
the baby.
Terrifying thought though. That someone could just come up to someone's house, live in it for a while, and then just go crazy and kill everyone.
Yeah, I'm always
Brutal.
like, I always like proper make sure
Lock
my
your
doors
door.
are locked at night and stuff like that.
I'm
like
really rubbish at that, man.
double-checking.
Meg's always like saying to me, "Have you locked the door?" And I always forget at the end of the night. But I'm not really not that bothered. But I suppose it's nothing like that's ever happened to me. But obviously, yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but like it is like the one savagely weird thing like that happens.
Oh yeah, because every now and again these things do pop up, and I just think, well, don't want it. It's not going to be me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like, just making sure you look.
Me. I definitely got a kukri next to me in my bed.
Yeah, I've got a sword and a couple of axes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just for that, you know, just for safety precautions.
I always keep a bat.
Yeah.
Just in case. Just in case.
Not even like a cricket bat and a bat.
Yeah, just a bat.
Yeah.
Just to unleash.
I am bad man.
Hanging there.
Yeah, just to unleash upon any unsuspecting foe.
A nice fruit bat.
Yeah. Just like someone tries to break in the ball and goes like, falls down the stairs being attacked by a bat. And then viciously died. Yeah, like because I live in quite an old house. If there's ever like I hear a little like creak in the attic or something, I'm always like, oh, I can, and then I'm like, oh, I can't rest now. I've got to quickly just go check, just on the small off chance that when like one of us wasn't looking or something, somebody like crept in and there's some weirdo upstairs and they're gonna kill us all in the night.
My mum told me a story that was like a real good story, and it was when she was younger, and she was like, I don't know how old she was, like mid-20s maybe. I could be.
So
be wrong
what?
on
So
that.
Josh and Jake were already alive then, or Josh would be in her early mid-20s.
No, well, yes, they would have been. They would have been because it was after she broke up with Steve.
Right. So it was North Street house.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it was. I think
Quite
it was.
a
Yes, it
horny
was
place,
North
that
Street House, and they went out. I think they might have went Palace for a night or something like that. Went out to a club.
As you do in
with her
Bridgewater
friends.
on a Saturday night.
Yeah, and then came back with her friends afterwards, and a couple of her friends were sleeping around. She was upstairs, whatever. And during the night, I think they forgot to close all the windows. So one of her
Mate,
friends.
you don't want to do that on North Street on a Saturday night. Come on, Dawn.
Yeah. So one of her friends was just randomly like sleeping downstairs and just saw this man like come in, and then she was like,
Oh.
"What are you doing here? Like, do you know Dawn?" And then this guy was just like, and then just like ran off. But like literally came in the house, and God knows
That guy was related to Drew. He didn't mean any malice by it. He just thought it was his house.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert.
wrong house. Oh God.
That could have just been, it could have been innocent. That's the thing, like, you don't know. It could be completely innocent, or it could be like
Someone trying to rob
A killer.
or a killer.
yeah, straight from completely innocent to straight through to killer.
So my mum's always had a thing about closing all the windows whenever we get to bed now.
Yeah, my Uncle Dom as well, where he's a copper, like he he reads like statistics like all the time, and he's like, you can pull up any like village or town or whatever on like the database, and it will say like what crimes have happened in that place every day. And then it's real funny because it can make you real paranoid if you like talk to him, because he's like, oh yeah, like so in like Stagursey, like in like the last week someone's got done for like GBH, someone's got done for like theft, something else. And it's like you think like a little village like that, but it's like little things just happen that you're not aware of, and it's like, oh yeah, somebody just like walked in somebody's front door while it was open the other week, and they were just like cooking a meal in the kitchen. And I think he's like proving a point to me that I think most people think if you're going to get like robbed, it's going to be like your whole entire, you're going to come home and there's like nothing there. But he's saying like most thefts are like way more like sneaky and in and out
Just
than
a little
that.
bit.
So like they could walk in, see an iPad and an Xbox, just quickly just take that, literally take like 60 seconds, and then go out, and that's like 500, 600 quid that person's made, which is like feeding their drug habit or whatever, So it's like, you got to be careful, wouldn't you? Because I don't want to be paying for new stuff like that because I've just like left my door open.
Yeah, man. I remember my motorbike got stolen when I was in school. Yeah,
Brutal, man.
That was like savage. Yeah, just out the garage, but I hadn't locked the garage.
Yeah,
and someone just went in.
Well, because people
opened the
just
door.
try. Yeah, and then dead of night, someone will just try. It's like, well, we'll just keep trying until we find a garage that's unlocked, see what's in there, take the couple of most valuable things, and if someone sees something like a motorbike, you can wheel it off quite quietly. you know what I mean? It's like
that's it, man.
So much money.
I remember the next door neighbour, the guy that does the gardening for our next door neighbours. He was telling me as well about his friend who had this really nice old classic bike, like a BSA.
Yeah.
And he said he went on holiday, got back, and was just carrying on, the business. About 3 days after he got back, went in the garage to check something, and his bike just wasn't there. But the whole garage and everything was still all locked up and that. And he was like, "What the hell?" And apparently they'd taken like the hinges, they literally like removed the door and then like taken the bike and then put the door back on and bolted it all, so it looked even like they were, so it was only like when you go out to check that you all of a sudden notice, but they'd like locked it up to make it look like there'd not even been a robbery.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just like, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, yeah, you wouldn't actually see until you went out to just randomly do a bit of work in the garage and something, and then be like, oh, the bike's not there anymore.
So they must have known that he was like gone away for quite a while.
Yeah, that's it. They
that's quite a job.
Scoped it out,
Yeah.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, I remember when my mum told me that like it was like after I moved out, my mum said that like one night she was like really freaked out because like a van just like came down the lane and just parked outside their house for like about an hour. And then just randomly just like drove off again.
Yeah.
But I was like, that they were blatantly scouting.
Yeah.
I reckon they were sitting there and like nothing happened of it, and then maybe they came to the conclusion of like, you've been to my mum's house, so it's like maybe they thought there's too much stuff that can go wrong because like down the lane it's like a little no through lane, and like if they happened to be backing out and then another car was coming down from like a neighbour's, they'd be stuck or something like that. It was almost like they, you know what I mean, like maybe they thought, okay, this is too like this isn't a good idea. But it was almost like they were like almost like sat there waiting, almost. And maybe in my mind when my mum told me about it afterwards, and she didn't tell me about it at the time because otherwise I'd have probably like gone over there or something, but like that's probably one of the reasons she didn't tell me. But it makes me think like maybe they were even just saying like, right, if we sit here, is anybody going to come out and challenge us? And the fact that, do you know what I mean? It's like almost like, man. But my uncle Dom also told me another story about this guy that he does Krav Maga with, and he lives in this nice house. It's like I can't remember if he said it's like on the road to Glastonbury, and there's some nice houses like on the randomly, and they're not actually anywhere. They're sort of on that A39 between Bridgewater and Glastonbury, and there are some little gates on the main road on the side, and you drive down them, and they're like really like long driveways, and then there's a house at the bottom. And I think that's where he said it was. My uncle Dom's Krav Maga instructor said that happened to him, but where he's just this like freaking Krav Maga expert and like just has been this brutal fighter all his life, he just went out there with a bat and just smashed off the freaking wing mirrors like straight away, and then they just like the van just like sped off into the night. But it's like, I think in that situation like that, as long as you are super physically confident, I think that is a good thing to do, because like what are they going to say in their defense?
Yeah.
You don't. It's not a normal thing to like go on somebody's land,
out,
drive down somebody's like property in like a dark night, and then just like, what are you going to say? Oh, I got lost.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't sit there, would you? You'd go and just pull up in a town somewhere or something. Like, you know? It's
pretty cool seeing on like community chats and that. Like we just moved to Crockerton, and like Meg's a part of like the Crockerton community chat, and there's loads of it's like basically a big hill. It's a bit of a weird village, like a road with houses on it either side, going up through there, but they're all like real nice houses, like big houses and stuff. And like it popped off on the chat the other night because they said that there was like a van going out but then parking up, and then he said someone went out and they were like, oh feck, and then like drove off in the van and stuff, but like oh feck.
It was a leprechaun.
Yeah, the leprechaun was just out there like but people had like said for the last few nights, they're like, has anyone seen the van that's da-da-da? And like everyone, do you know what I mean? I was like, that's quite a cool like community thing to do in a village.
Watch.
Yeah, like unofficial neighbourhood watch, just checking out for the vans.
Crockerton watch.
Oh yeah, it was like Danny's had his had all of his tools stolen out of his van twice in Cannington.
Super common, isn't it, for vans to get broken into and just tools stolen? Because tools are expensive.
That's it, man. And he was backed up right against the garage and everything as well.
They still found a way.
Even they know that, like, I remember with that one, he had the Citroen Relay van.
Oh, I remember this.
And then and there's a
like a trick with the Citroen Relay.
It was unlocked when he went, and he was like, he knew that he's OCD with van. He's had his things stolen before. That he knew he locked it, but it was unlocked when he saw it, and then he looked up. There's this design fault with those vans that if you do some kind of thing with like a plunger
like a trick,
on like the handle, it just pops the lock.
Yeah,
and like so that was obviously what had happened. You know. And
bad
like,
on citrons, I say. That's what they always say, don't they? They're like, they always say like, don't ever. I've heard like a lot of mechanics say like, don't ever buy a French car. Like apparently all those like Renaults and Citroens,
yeah,
are
a lot
really
of electric
bad
problems as well.
Yeah, just like really unreliable. Like, what's the point of having a lock if you can freaking unlock it with a plunger?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that is like, might as well not freaking have one.
Yeah,
Just like, oh right.
Crazy. Keep your doors locked, guys.
Keep your doors locked. Watch out for psychopaths.
Yeah, check your attic.
If you hear there's some creaks in your attic, yeah, go and have a look. Or send your most burly friend up with an axe. The tables have turned. Do you ever like think like cool cool stuff? Like if someone broke in the house, I would just tie him up and then just not let him leave. Yeah. And then I would just like not call the cops for ages. And then I'd like
just stare at them.
I just put on Hellraiser and just like put them just facing the telly and put on Hellraiser and every now and again make a really horrible menacing noise behind them. Do you know what I mean? In the dark.
You entered the wrong house.
Yeah.
And then once the sun was coming up, then I'd just call the police and be like, yeah, I just want to teach them a lesson, so just wanted to freak them out.
You'd probably be the one that got done then.
Yeah, it probably.
Which is crazy in this day and age. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd be willing to do like a day or two in the clink for that.
Worth it.
Surely I wouldn't go down for like a long time for that. Surely.
For teaching and someone their own medicine.
Yeah, for just like putting on Hellraiser, tying somebody up, putting on Hellraiser, and then making weird noises behind them for a few hours. You know.
What sort of weird noises would you make?
Like, just like any sort of weird, demented,
really disturbed.
Yeah, and any like unsettling noise I could think of, I would do. I always love it on Halloween, like because I
was just imagining like going like blindfolding them, but then going right upstairs and being like, "I'm here."
That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I always love it like on Halloween because obviously you get all the trick or treaters. I always put like real freaking freaky music on, really loud on my telly, and I've got this like skull mask which looks a little bit menacing. And yeah, I just put all the lights dim, and I always just like proper just like answer the door, like trying really menacing to all the little kids, and it's really funny. Like sometimes if it's a really really little kid, it makes me feel bad, and I usually just take the mask off straight away. Yeah. But if they're like over the age of 5, then I just keep it up and like, hello children. So like I'm like, you get well into like, it. Would you like some sweeties? And like if they, you know, sometimes you get like a greedy kid, and they'll be like trying to take them all. I'm like, share. I'm like, make sure you share, or I'll be coming back to get you. Something like that. Love it. It's got to be done at Halloween, isn't it? Got to be done at Halloween. Right, should we leave it there for this week's Mystery Monday then?
I think that's it, man.
Signing off.
So, yeah, nice mystery, Bullwinkle. I thought that was one of your better ones.
Thank you.
So rest in peace, the people that got murdered on the farmstead. And it's a shame that the killer never got caught. But I'm sure that when he passed, he
was judged by the maker.
Exactly. And now, if Drew's stories bear any fruit, then maybe he's getting sexually assaulted by a demon right now.
Yeah. In hell, baby.
Dark, but I don't make the rules, alright? See you later, everyone. Stay safe. Love you.